What's up everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on Lex Alexas. Today we are going through yet again more championship score predictions. We made it to match day 14, going straight actually after midweek 13 has just ended as well, and my goodness, some really topsy-turvy results and some definite score predictions that I don't think any of us even expected. So once again, we're going to predict 12 championship games and probably expect it to be just as unpredictable as the last week. Before I carry on the left hand side of the screen, you'll see my Premier League predictions going into this weekend as well. They're not going to count towards the Leicester's Football Prediction League, but as always, you guys can always put your predictions for the Premier League games in the comments down below just for a little bit of fun. But for you guys interested in the Leicester's Football Prediction League, all you got to do is enter your score predictions for the championships by typing them in the comments below, and I will post an update very soon. Sometime next week, you will see an updated table. If you guys like what we see, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. Let's see if we can hit 50 likes. That'd be terrifically appreciative. Please also make sure you hit the subscribe button too. That also really helps the growth of this channel as well, as we're trying to creep up further from 2,000 subscribers. And please also share the channel too. All these things really do help. Without any further ado, let's start predicting these weekend's games. Let's start off with Leeds going up against Huddersfield Town. This is one of two early games on the Saturday, and it's a Yorkshire derby. Both teams with a defeat in midweek, and both teams will be wanting a swift response. Leeds lost out against Stoke City, and it was really a game that actually held in the balance for a lot of it. Stoke defending really well. There was a crucial moment where Patrick Bamford stood up for a penalty and blazed a shot over the goal, and within minutes later, Stoke get the win by an own goal, for what I've heard, by Pascal Strojcic. So a devastating way for Leeds to lose out not only on 1 point but on all 3 points there. And if Leeds are still going to have those kind of results in their locker, then it tells me that attacking wise they're still not completely clicked yet, and Stoke have proven that Leeds' momentum is not quite as strong as we may have thought it would have been. Huddersfield are going into this game really needing to try and get a response for the fans. They lost out at home against Cardiff by 4-0. 4 different goal scores for Cardiff, and fair play to all 4 of them. But Huddersfield, especially in that first half, they were really shocking defensively. And if they're going to produce that sort of similar defensive performance against Leeds United, they're not only going to lose again, but they're going to bump up Leeds' confidence again, in my opinion. As a prediction here, I think with the attacking options that Leeds offer, I think they are the most likely team who could potentially get something here. As a prediction then, I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Leeds. I think it's going to be quite close actually. And Leeds will not be keeping too many clean sheets, so I do back Huddersfield to get a goal. But I think Leeds will hold out and just do enough to get a win. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Southampton going up against Birmingham. So both of these teams didn't manage to win in their midweek games. Southampton probably feel a bit relieved with their midweek performance because they scraped a point against Preston North End and had to rely on a Ched Evans own goal and a couple of decisions going in their favour. You felt that Preston probably deserved to have a penalty for a handball off the line potentially. But in the end of the day, Southampton dug deep and still managed to fight and got a point out of it in the end. And fair play to them, they really did stick with it. And they are proving to be a team that I think for most teams are going to have to really try and be clinical, because Southampton, it's very difficult to outplay them when it comes to the ball. So then when you do win the ball, you've got to be extra clinical. And if you are able to do that, then they are the teams who could potentially get something against Southampton at this moment in time. Birmingham, they're going into this game, third game under Wayne Rooney, 2 defeats in a row with an aggregate score of 3-0. Still no goals under Wayne Rooney as well. Birmingham did look like that they created probably enough at least to score 1 goal, but attacking wise, Hull looked really just more at it. They just looked more organised, and they just seemed more prepared on what to do going forward. For the fact that Southampton scores so many goals, I think this could be a really good opportunity for Southampton to kind of regain that momentum that they had previously before it got halted by Preston midweek there. I just don't see Birmingham at this moment of time having the confidence or even having the luck to potentially get something at the moment, especially away from home and against a good team like Southampton too. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory to Southampton. Maybe a bit predictable in a way, but I'm going to play a little bit safe. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now you go to the 3 o'clock kickoff. So let's go with Blackburn versus Swansea. So contrasting results from both of these teams going into this weekend. Blackburn, what a win it has been for them for beating Millwall by 2-1. I mean, we do not want to speak about the first goal that they conceded. It's a really, really poor mistake in the goalkeeper to have a really tame header go through the legs. But fair play to them. They fought back and actually were having a little bit of the old traditional Blackburn for what I tend to see for them. Once they don't have a lot of the ball, but when they create chances, they're clinical. They actually only had 9 shots and 6 of them were on target, which tells me that in every 2 shots out of 3, they get them on goal. And that is just really going to increase the likelihood for Blackburn to pull away against teams. And that's exactly what happened there. Joaquin Costello again on the score sheet, and Callum Britton with a brilliant performance with a goal and an assist. He'll be crucial here against Swansea, where Swansea, they've had a tough run of games. They recently played against Watford, where Watford had not won away from home since January. And unfortunately for them, it was a little bit similar to the Stoke and Leeds game. It just kind of hung into the balance and, you know, teams just kind of making small breaks of play. But a moment of individual quality, which I guess contrasts the goal that Stoke scored by Ken Sema, managed to end Swansea's chances of getting something, and they really need to see if they can get something here. And for me, based on Blackburn's improved momentum, 3 wins in a row, I think it's in their favour to get another win here, especially Swansea now having 2 defeats in a row. It's going to be very difficult for them to pick up from this. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Blackburn. I think, again, it's going to be close, but I only see, for me personally, Blackburn going to be the team to edge out in this game, just based on where the players are at, the momentum, and I do think that plays a big factor. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. The next game to predict is Cardiff versus Bristol City, the 7-side derby. I'm really excited for this one, actually. So Cardiff are going to this game obviously with a lot of confidence, beating Huddersfield Town by 4-0. They really fought for it, and I think especially that Mate goal, the way he celebrated, the passion that I saw from this Cardiff side was immense. And they have been a really joyful team to watch. They've definitely been a team that I think have overperformed people's expectations. And I'm really glad that we're seeing a team kind of defy the odds a little bit. Bristol City are there and thereabouts in a mid-table position. They had a brilliant win over the weekend, but unfortunately they followed up in midweek, losing 1-0 to Ipswich. Now, it was a really close game. It was a 49 to 51% possession split, and shots wise there was very, very little separating them. But what you saw from the momentum, that Ipswich kind of really let the game kind of, you know, get away from Bristol City in a way. They managed it, actually. I think that's the word I was looking for. Really well. And whilst Bristol City did come close, I think they hit the woodwork once. Unfortunately for them, they didn't manage to find the breakthrough, and Ipswich did early on. So going into this game here, I do see maybe Cardiff being the favourite. I think they having a slightly better run of form. Bristol City being a little bit inconsistent with their form, hence why they've really, you know, performance-wise, they should be quite high up the table in my opinion, but they've just been teetering around the middle part of the table because there's no consistency, sadly. And I think, again, here, what we'll see is Cardiff getting the better of their rivals. They've already got the better of one of their rivals, Swansea. I think they can do it again here. So as a prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 Cardiff. I think it's going to be tight, but I see Cardiff with their attacking players, what they can offer on the pitch, just maybe slightly edging Bristol City, but honestly a draw actually wouldn't surprise me here. So I'm going to go 2-1 Cardiff. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. The next game today is Ipswich versus Plymouth. 2 newly promoted teams going up against each other. Now, position-wise in the table, they couldn't be anywhere different, but both are going into this game with a win. So Ipswich managed to beat Bristol City, as I said just now, by 1-0. Great goal in the end by Nathan Broadhead to make the only difference within that game. Plymouth got back to winning ways after really struggling recently, beating Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, unfortunately, no disrespect to Sheffield Wednesday, but it does feel pretty standard now to get 3 points against Sheffield Wednesday. But the matter that they managed to do it with, they did really well to get 3 goals and a clean sheet. It's pretty good going for Plymouth, and they can go into this game against Ipswich maybe with a new lease of confidence. Now, when they played against each other at Portman Road last year, it ended 1-1 with a Bali Mumba last minute equaliser. Do I think we'll see that here? Personally, I just think with the options that Ipswich have, Ipswich went to Bristol City, not with their full squad, with some of their first team players injured. I look at Wes Burns being the main example of that. They still managed to find enough depth players to cover up those gaps and still played brilliantly. And I think they still will be able to churn out a win. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory based on the attacking form. They're really, really riding a positive tidal wave of momentum at the moment, and I think right now that can continue. So we're going to go 3-1 Ipswich. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Hull versus Preston. So Hull going into this game after a positive result in midweek, and they needed one as well because they were struggling. I don't think they actually had a win in 5 games. So a little bit of a sigh of relief for Hull City when they managed to get a good result in the end against Birmingham. Liam Delap again on the score sheet. I tell you what, Liam Delap, I think is having one of his better championship seasons in recent memory. And Jaden Philogene-Bidet, who actually completed the goal he signed for Hull, he managed to get the goal with Scott Twine getting the assist. So 2 new transfers combining there. Preston, honestly, I feel really bad for them because they played really, really well, especially in that second half. But for a Ched Evans own goal to undo all the hard work they did to not only come back from behind against Southampton from half time, but they still managed the game so well, and they could have even extended, their margin as well. It's definitely been a real decline of Preston's form. They were really, really pumping out wins, but now Preston are not necessarily churning out the wins at a successful rate now. As a prediction, this one's a coin flip for me because I feel if Preston score first, I think it's going to be very, very tight, and it's just a question if Hull can equalise. But I think if Hull score first, I think it's going to be very difficult for Preston to get back into it based on what I've seen already with Hull managing games. I'm going to go, actually, this may surprise you, but I'm going to go 2-0 Hull. I have a feeling they'll score quite early, Hull. And Hull typically have a pretty good record against Preston, actually, from my recent history too. So I'm going to go for a Hull City win. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. So the next games to predict, we have got Middlesbrough against Stoke City. So both are going to this game with a win in midweek. Middlesbrough, of course, managing to get a win over Norwich. I mean, that was a sensational result. It was pretty quiet within the first half, but Sam Greenwood opening the scoring, fair play to him. And I'm really, really happy how well Middlesbrough have been able to not only surge up the table, but to continue their form after the international break. They are officially joint points with West Brom and Cardiff around the top 6 area, which is amazing. Absolutely amazing for Middlesbrough to recover that quickly. Stoke are going into this game probably in a little bit more confidence now as well, because it's back-to-back wins for this Stoke City side. So with fears of relegation, they're now looking a little bit less concerning. But my issue is, are Stoke going to still continue that form? And unfortunately, I do think Middlesbrough away is one of the toughest games that you can face, especially if you want to be looking for a guaranteed 3 points. And as a prediction here, I think it's going to be low scoring personally. But I see Middlesbrough being the one who can edge out here. I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory to Middlesbrough. I think they might just squeak it just based on the options that they got. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is QPR versus Leicester. I mean, I hate to say, but I'm probably going to predict a very predictable scoreline. QPR were definitely the most uninspiring team over midweek, with only one shot in the entire game against West Brom. Now, understandably, in the second half it would have been hard. Jimmy Dunn got sent off, which ultimately led to the first goal coming from the penalty spot for West Brom. But even with that, in that first half, when it was 11 versus 11, QPR couldn't even manage a shot. I mean, performance-wise, QPR are really low in confidence right now, which is a result of why these results are happening. With Leicester, they managed to graft out a win against Sunderland. It wasn't a convincing win by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a 1-0 win, and it was just about enough. And I've got to say, fair play to Sunderland. I'll be talking about them in a minute when I predict their game against Norwich, but I think they really did a good job, Sunderland, by keeping Leicester from potentially extending their scoreline a little bit. Stats-wise, it was pretty close with shots and possession too. So I generally think with Leicester, even if they do get beaten in some stats, they just have the quality players to finish the job, even if they may not be playing well. And they could very well not play well against QPR, but still get a really decent result. As a prediction for me, I'm going to go 2-0 Leicester. I think that's the safest prediction for me at the moment. I'm not going to go for a complete thrashing. I'm not going to be that disrespectful for QPR, but unless something material changes, like a squad injury to a first-team player for Leicester, I don't really see anything changing, unfortunately. Let me know what you think of that, though, in the comments down below. Next game to predict is a huge bottom-of-the-table clash with Sheffield Wednesday versus Rotherham. Now, this was originally going to be the bottom two teams facing against each other, but following the fact that Rotherham managed to win their midweek game against Coventry, they are now no longer 23rd, they're actually 22nd. But this is a crucial game for both sides here. Sheffield Wednesday, only team in the EFL not to have picked up a win in their league game so far this season. The worst start made by a championship club in its lifetime. So the stats are really going against Sheffield Wednesday, and performance-wise, slight improvement for what I've seen with Danny Rowe, but it does feel like to me that even that's not going to be enough. And with Rotherham, what we saw against Coventry is the threat that they have to kind of potentially hit teams, not really necessarily off the break, but their set pieces are really, really strong. They're physical. They're really going to be a really difficult team for people. So as a prediction here, with it being at Hillsborough, I think it's going to be very difficult for Rotherham to contend with that. But based on how poor Sheffield Wednesday had been for being able to, one, keep a lead, or two, even win a game, I'm going to compromise and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. That is what I think will happen. So that will mean Sheffield Wednesday get their 4th point of the season. And it's a result that doesn't really do either teams very much favours at all. So a draw will be one to be avoided by both of them. But that is what I'm predicting, because ultimately I can't decide which one's going to win. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Sunderland versus Norwich. So I just spoke about how well I thought Sunderland did to actually keep Leicester at bay. But on the other hand, if I go to Norwich, who they played against Middlesbrough, they're at home and they only managed 2 shots on target in that entire game. That is not encouraging stats at all for a team that had taken pride on the amount of goals they were scoring. Now, albeit their injuries to Barnes and Sargent are real major blows, and I'm definitely seeing now Norwich really starting to struggle with that. And going into this game with Sunderland, I mean, they're not going to have a full squad either, but personally, I think what we'll see is Sunderland getting the win here. Even with it being at Stadium and Light and Sunderland not typically having a good record at home, I think they'll get the job done here. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Sunderland. I think that is the most likely outcome for this match, unless, you know, Sunderland make a mistake or Norwich have a flurry of goals, which they could easily do. They went 2-0 up against Norwich and found a way to concede 3 second-half goals. So Norwich have definitely been entertaining, but are they being entertaining for themselves for the right reasons? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Watford versus Millwall. So, Watford managed to get their first away win since January, which is unbelievable. Ken Seymour will be held as a hero to Watford fans for them to remember what an away win felt like. I mean, it is incredible that Watford gone that long without an away win. Millwall right now are struggling Obviously, they dismissed Rowett by this time last week, strangely enough, which feels like a lifetime ago. It's surprising that it's only lasted a week. And unfortunately, I don't really see anything in their performances that suggests to me that they're going to pick up 3 points here. Watford could definitely try and bring some confidence after that last game, but realistically, I think both these teams have been quite underwhelming, so I'm going to therefore predict an underwhelming result in this game. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I'm being a bit cowardly here. I'm not too sure which one to back, so I'm going to therefore go for a draw. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now, the final game to predict is Coventry West Brom. Now, this is a Monday night game, which I think is a very interesting choice for Monday night football. So, Coventry, I mean, where do I begin with Coventry? Losing 2-0 to Rotherham, not a great look on their part at all. And right now, they've definitely been one of the worst teams going out from the international break. But they create so much every single game. I mean, that game against Rotherham, I think there was a combined 40 shots between the two teams. So it's clear to me that Coventry are creating, but they seem wasteful and they're lacking that composure when they shouldn't really need to lack their composure. West Brom are climbing up that table. You know, they're within the top 6 now. Their home form is looking very strong. And even the other away form, they can pick up a brilliant result too. And right now, I just don't see many things stopping this West Brom side. Now, I think with their last couple of games, quite a contrast. You saw a 0-0 draw with Plymouth, which was poor. But then follow that up with, you know, maybe a predictable win against QPR in the end of it. But I think the only downside I'm seeing with West Brom, they're not really being that free scoring, you know, taking Preston out of the Ascension. So as a prediction, I think what we'll see is a West Brom win, but I think it's only going to be a 1-0 scoreline. Coventry could even get something now because they are at home, and I think they actually have done all right at home this season. But for me, based on the momentum, I think Coventry could be caught short here. And I think West Brom will be the team who just narrowly edges it. It could literally just be like a penalty what introduced their scoreline against QPR in their last game. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 West Brom win. Just have a funny feeling they could pull something out the bag here. But let me know what you think in the comments down below too. So guys, these are all my predictions for the Championship for match day 14. As always guys, make sure you comment your predictions in the comments down below so you guys have a chance to get some points for the Leicester Football Prediction League, which will be published sometime next week. So that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed it, please smash the like button. It really does help. Please do hit the subscribe button too. And please also share as well. All 3 of these things are free to do, and they really, really do help the growth of this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching and for the terrific support. You guys are legendary if you saw any of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.